Welcome, everybody. Episode SLA podcast numero 9, Q9, Cuban in Japanese. We got over here Orvin as the Yush and Carson, a new guest. Carson, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience here?
Hi, I'm Carson, and something to know about me is my occupation right now is electrician.
Oh, so you take care of people. If you ever have a power outage, just call Carson. He'll take care of you.
Yeah.
If you're, but anyway, people, I'm talking about power outages. Let's talk about the first topic of today, which I need to get a clock, so make sure we stick on time. It's the Nintendo Switch Online is finally worth it. And what do I mean by this? Is for people that need context. Nintendo Switch Online used to cost $20, if I remember correctly, or 30 tops, but I believe it's 20 for 1 year. That allows you to play online and get access to Super Nintendo and I believe Nintendo and Game Boy, but just the first Game Boy Color stuff. Once they released that, of course, at first it was only that and that was it. No Game Boy. But now for an extra, $30, so taking it up to $50 a year, you get access to Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance games, and Mario Kart 8 tracks. Up to 50, I think they are going to make. I think they've given up like 20 now, but there's still 30 to go or so. And other stuff like Splatoon 2 crap that no one cares about because the third one just came out. But anyway, the argument is it worth it? And I made a video on YouTube saying it is. Have you guys tackled with it at all?
So I was looking at this. It reminded me of the conversation we were having where it's like you have all these games, but you don't have all the time.
Oh yeah, last
And
week's
so
episode.
I've dabbled in emulators before. And the issue with doing that is that you'd start playing it and then there's this other game that you're like, oh, this game either came out or you're like, I'm gonna play, I don't know, Halo, or I'm gonna play some other type of newer game that just like Hogwarts Legacy. Like you're just like, oh, I just want to play that. And so over time, you just like, those games are kind of older. I've technically already played them before. Why go back to it again? But then the nostalgia is there, and so you're just kind of battling with yourself on whether you should or shouldn't. Because there's only so many times you can replay the same game that's older before you're just like, I'm good.
I can see that.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Carson.
I see it as an opportunity to like people that didn't grow up with those older games and want to play an older game. I personally grew up playing Jack 3, but I never beat it. So I used an emulator to go and beat it. So I think that's a perfect opportunity for what emulators could be, is not only just nostalgia, but like to go back through and beat those games that you never beat.
I like that.
Yeah, that's going into emulators, and I'm talking about you have the Nintendo, it's coming out with this stuff. Is it really worth it to pay for that when you're just like, am I really putting the time? Am I really getting my money worth out of just the amount of games that I'm buying already on top of that? You have Xbox subscription, you have
PSN,
other
PSN Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have stuff on Steam. You have
Yeah, I could
Battle.net.
see that.
You have all these different type of platforms that you're all going through. That you're just like, I got all these other games. Why should I
I
play for Nintendo? And the only thing I can see that is a positive is that it's for like if you have kids, you do it for them, because at a younger age, being exposed to like older graphics is not as much of like a jarring experience as somebody that's older and you're just like, it's old.
That's true, and definitely give them to play that than the piece of crap mobile stuff that, which by the way, I'm making an article coming out this coming week about, Monday, releases Monday, about Apple Arcade and just the state of mobile gaming. But yeah, I think I like both points that you guys made. It brings down the question of where's the value in it. For example, um, Nintendo's is mostly nostalgia. It doesn't, so far, of course, this year has been changing. But even then, looks like their strategy is older titles because there's no other way to play them. Xbox and PlayStation kind of already taking care of that, mostly Xbox with backwards compatibility. Of course, if you're a PC player, it doesn't matter to you because you just play the old titles. But having them, but that's the emulator side of things, which is, I think, why the topic is getting mixed so much is Xbox and PlayStation are offering you emulation and new titles. Nintendo is practically just giving you emulation for the service. It doesn't come with discounts for the store. Xbox gives you 10-15% off in games through Game Pass. PlayStation Plus will also come in with discounts and free games a month. I don't say free games on Xbox because they're kind of lame, but Game Pass covers that. Nintendo Switch doesn't. They don't give you free games. They don't give you discounts. They just say, oh yeah, remember this game from 20 years ago? You get to play it on the Switch. And you're like, yay! You play it, then you realize Metroid Fusion only lasts 6 hours, and then you're like, that was beautiful. But now I paid $50 for a whole year. What else can I play?
The funny thing
Yeah.
is that's kind of what I did. Metroid Fusion, I bought it on the, what was it, the
Wii U?
Yeah. And then I played it and I was like, well, that was like, I think I've spent, it was like a little over $10 on it. And I was like, I feel like it wasn't really worth it just for the fact that I bought it on a platform that was dying.
Oh, well, there's the dying, yeah, on the Wii U. That would suck. And so
Yeah.
I think definitely with the emulation, I think it's worth it. But once you beat them, it's just sitting there. So they have to add new titles in there that you care for
Yeah.
in order to make it worth it.
Well, also you have the problem with the emulation issues. Remember that?
Yeah, there's that, like, fetching GoldenEye and its control scheme is trash. It's kind of just there for you to figure it out. Of course, some people will say, even like, and there's just so many topics, but I want to hit the right point before we diverge into other things. The right point is the Nintendo Switch Online is worth it, but I bring the argument, as that's why I mentioned you guys being PC players. For your average gamer, I personally think it's great that this is available. Maybe that just answers the question, but for you guys, where's the value in paying for it if you can just emulate it on your smartphone? If you play around on an iPhone, which is the harder one, which is not even that hard, you can emulate all these titles, and they'll run at fetching 1080p, 4K even on the iPad, and 60 FPS if you want to. And so the value in that I wonder is, especially to add Xbox Game Pass and PSN, is if the game leaves the service, you're screwed. But then again, even if you pay for the full price for a game, you only have the license to the game. So if the platform gets rid of the game, you're still losing the game. So what do you guys think? Is it a valid argument to say, oh, these services are bad because you don't own the game?
Well, that argument's been made on tons of different platforms. Like on Xbox, you had that where it's like you don't own any of these games, but you're paying for the convenience. And I think it even applies even better to Nintendo because, like what you're saying, is these games last like, I don't know, 4 or 6 hours, maybe even less. So you just download the game, play it, you're good, okay, and then you just could do the next game and stuff like that. But where I was saying, where I feel like the application applies more to children than it does adults. So if I guess the children's doing that, but if you want to have it, so for a PC player, they can set up like a what is it called, like a Raspberry Pi. So they can set up like almost like a little computer, put emulators on it, hook it up to the TV. Now those games are always there.
Yeah.
And you have all of that there instead of subscription that you have to pay every single time. And you can put all the best games. You don't have to get all the other games that you know that probably not going to get played. Why even bother? You just put all the best games on there, and then you can have your kids play. You can even sit down and play with your kids with it on the TV, kind of link it up that way. But then you also have the other thing with the Switch where it's portable. And that has a different play where it's like if I had my emulator and it was portable, I would probably play it more often versus on my computer where it can handle higher graphics. So why would I play something, instead I was just the newer games that are better looking on my nice computer, and on a handheld that could barely handle anything, play the older
Yeah, I
games.
was going to ask you, Carson, to kind of finish off on this topic. Like, for you, I know you like to play around with game titles and mod them and change them and crap. And so, these
Yeah.
services, from your perspective, what's their value? Or is there any value, really?
So I think it's value to me because I don't have a whole lot of time to play like any like competitive games. These are not competitive games; they're more casual for sure. And I definitely, when I sat down and played Jak 3 on the PlayStation 2 emulator, it was definitely just like a humbling experience to see how far we came and how well they tried to make a game back then, and I liked it. I enjoyed that experience. So
So you're saying
for
like it's
me, it'd
almost
be
like you don't
valuable.
have enough time, so it's like
These
games don't
short
take a whole
games,
lot, so it's
yeah,
less commitment from you to play these games than
yeah,
if they're like these newer titles.
yeah, and they're very short. So like, I don't have to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I have 20 more hours on this game because it's a 40-hour game. Like I just play it until because Jak 3 was like that. It was like a 6-hour game. It was like barely anything. So
That's
it
good.
was it was fun. Yeah.
Well, I like it. I think it comes down to convenience, and because if you want to save money, then you got to work a little in order to get these games to be playable at in a good system that's free. But if you don't want to invest the time and you have kids or just you're busy and you just want to play games and get them,
Mm,
then I think these services are great for people that don't want to be playing around with stuff. It definitely brings the
yeah.
argument of if it all becomes subscription, is that really the future we want, or do we still always want to be able to own our titles? That's where I think that'd be maybe a different topic for a different day. I try to squish it into this one, but I think it fit into a different topic. Actually owning your
Yeah.
games. The next topic, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comment section where your thoughts are on this. But trust me, Nintendo Switch's online expansion pack. A year ago, I would have said, "Bro, you're joking. All you get is nothing." But now you actually get a decent amount. And the emulation, I've tried a lot of the random ones, and they're good. Like Wave Race, they run good. Now, the next topic is probably the one I'm excited about because it's what's trending and it's fun. Apple's machine learning infrastructure, and this is something that not a lot of people know. So you guys, I know you're not Carson over here to give you guys context. He's an Android guy. So
Yeah.
here we go. We're going to have a good variety of people in here. Orvin, he's sort of a hybrid between Windows and Apple. And then there's me that's fully invested in the garden with my cup of tea, telling people, "Hello, how you doing?"
Hey, you can't say that you haven't dabbled in the other side.
Oh yeah, I have. I definitely you're right. I've dabbled in the
You're
other
tainted
side.
goods.
And then I found the garden and I said, I leave the garden once in a while to play outside with the gangsters, and then I come back inside and be like, "You guys, that was fun. Good, cool days, cool days, cool beans."
That's where
Yeah.
I get my weed, yo. That's where I got my source. I come back in here and we're going back to life.
Exactly. So the garden and apple, in my opinion, I love it, and I think there's a lot of talk going on that Apple needs to do something fast and step it up. But so here's the thing with AI to give you guys context. You guys heard about Brad, Google's answer to OpenAI's ChatGPT and GPT-4?
Nope.
Bard?
Bard. Yes, you're right, Carson.
Oh,
Thank you.
Bard.
Yeah.
I'm like, not Brad.
Because
I'm
I'm
like,
Android.
there's a Brad
That's
Siri version, I think.
yeah.
So, what was it again? Bard?
Yeah,
Holy
Bard.
crap.
It's the only AI I was able to get access to
Oh.
as an Android user.
So,
Because all the other ones I think are like Apple exclusive or
Apple
something like
Silicon
that.
for
At
the
the
app like Poet is. ChatGPT is just
Mhm.
browser based. But yeah, like to access a
Mhm.
bunch of them in one place, yeah, there's like an app called Poi, and that one is exclusive to
Mhm.
Apple Silicon. But this Google one is like ChatGPT version 2.0, and ChatGPT is already on version 4. And it's dumb as hell. And it's coming from Google. That's the fact I want people to understand, that this
Yeah.
new so-called language model AI is coming from Google. And when you think Google,
Yeah.
you're thinking infinite amount of money, research, time, data. It's not like they lack the data, but the thing is dumb as the bag of bricks. It's almost as dumb as Siri, sadly.
Yeah. You'd
It's a-
think that they'd just be able
it's
to buy
about the
somebody off
equiv-
that already has all that information or skill and then just say, okay,
Or
how
develop
much-
it. What are you going to
Yeah.
say, Carson?
I was gonna say that it's the equivalent of just Google searching something. Like it gives you about that much information,
Do you have
and it doesn't. It does articulate it a little bit better than just searching through something, but I feel like could be a lot better. For
Yeah, I agree.
Google, yeah.
It's just surprising that it's so in its infancy, so young and dumb. But I was thinking, Apple Siri is dumb as hell. I hate using Siri now. I love Siri. I love the concept of Siri with the privacy friendly stuff and whatnot, but she's just so useless at times that I'm like, I just don't want to use you because it's painful. And so,
That's true. I
and
do
if
have those moments. I'm like, shut up.
right,
Stop talking.
you look like an idiot sometimes, just telling her something, and then everybody chuckles and giggles in the room because like, oh, the Siri user is so stupid.
Yeah.
But I hope Apple, and I think the reason why I made the argument that I think Apple is not as behind as people say, in the sense of they have the hardware, they're just missing the software. Because the neural engine inside most iPhones, I did the research, and from iPhone 8 and 10 and up, pretty much all of them have the neural engine capable of processing machine learning algorithms. So henceforth AI like that, of that nature. And I looked at equivalent Android CPUs and their SoCs, and a lot of them don't. And on the Windows side, computer side, also same thing on their laptop side. Apple's MacBooks, iMacs, you name it, Mac Minis, all of them have this neural engine. And yeah, it is used for some things right now, but I was thinking, whenever these AI software features get made the Apple way, dude, it's going to be a run in town. iPhone 10s and maybe 11s, maybe the 10's too old for this, but even the 11, and it'll be able to process these AI features on device compared to the competition. And who knows what else we're going to see, because maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I think machine learning with the current form of it, like speaking, doing queries, searches, it's amazing. But if you really look at the scale of things, it's not that useful. It's probably the least useful way of doing it. Because a human can still do it. If you've learned how to Google search stuff with keyword matching and stuff, you can find stuff just as easy.
Right. So, like, if you're the AI that you'd have on your phone, like the machine learning that you'd have on your phone, you wouldn't be utilizing that to use, like, say, Chat GPT. Like, it wouldn't be doing any of the algorithm because they have like other computers somewhere else that does all of that computing for you, and then it sends you the information. You would have that on your device for like reading your specific way of how you do things, and you would be able to train the AI in your way of doing things, is what you're saying?
Yeah, so for example, Meta is also doing a machine learning algorithm. What is the right word? Maybe I'm butchering it, but they're also doing the equivalent of ChatGPT. So Facebook has their own. But theirs, someone managed to get it to run on a Raspberry Pi. It was slow as hell to be able to, process the
Yeah.
data.
Mhm.
But because that Raspberry Pi is not designed for machine learning, it's just brute forcing its way with its tiny CPU and GPU or whatever,
Just start smoking.
cracking the numbers. And so
Yeah.
when I saw that, it made me think, let's remove the cloud for these easy query stuff, like you're just doing search, because there's not a lot of compute power. You make that efficient in a year, maybe 5 years tops, it is going to become so efficient, you're not going to need the cloud to be able to process these requests. But then I imagined, what hardware are you going to be able to do it locally on? And if someone can run Facebook's version of this on a Raspberry Pi, what are you gonna be able to do on an Apple Watch? Because the Apple Watch also has a neural engine in it, by the way. And when you're doing smart stuff, like Warren said, what's it gonna do for your personal stuff? Have you guys looked into the Microsoft Copilot with Office?
No, I haven't.
Mm-mm.
So to give you context, it's able to grab data from your calendar, your documents, and match them. You can tell it, I have a meeting, my 2 p.m. meeting
Oh,
about.
now I think I
You didn't even
remember
have to say
seeing
about
like
what.
a video talking about that. Yeah, and
Yeah, you tell it stuff, and it's like, I need to make a graph for my boss at this meeting about this. I need to prove this point. Can you gather the data? Boom. And just goes over your files and pulls them all up, and you can kind of tell it, let's remove this, modify this, blah, blah, blah.
would increase the workflow
Stuff like that.
efficiency.
That,
And they're already trying to create other AI
Yeah.
stuff to do stuff similar to that in different ways of like creating schedules, sending it out to everybody, and ways of doing it instead of doing like individual texts or even group texts, but like in a more neat and organized on a calendar, and everyone has that calendar and it syncs.
Yeah. All this stuff, I'm thinking, it's not going to require the cloud. Like, that just sounds so archaic in the sense of it's simple stuff that I think Apple devices, imagine if you could sell it and say, iPhone will do this on device 2 to 4 times faster than your Android equivalent, as an example. Not attacking Android, Carson. But, the competition. Your Mac can do all this locally much faster, kind of like video editing right now. Yeah, you can do gaming on other platforms better than Mac, but when it comes to video editors, they're definitely going to shave off that 10% at times time saving locally on their device than the equivalent PC. And that's kind of a selling point, for that video editor. And so I think that'll be an interesting angle that, yes, Apple is behind right now on AI, but they'll get the software and then they'll have an advantage in specific Apple ways that others won't. But that's my argument on that.
Sounds good to me. To be honest, I don't have too much say on that other than the ability to be able to use the AI to learn your behaviors, and then think about that you're able to take that and then transfer it. Like if you go to a new device, it saves all that information about you specifically, and then that transfers to the new device. So you could train Siri.
That'd be cool.
Like, and I know they already kind of have stuff similar to that, where it's like she kind of starts more recognizing your voice. Yeah, and how you
predictions
pronounce
too on
certain
app
things.
usage.
But it doing at a much faster speed and more accurate, or the accuracies increase on that, as well as like you can train it to do certain things that you want it to. So it's like when I say this thing, it's going to pull up and bring up information of this type of sort that I personalized off to the side versus what it would do default off of the internet.
Yeah, learn contextually what you like. Kind of like Carson with his lights Beat Saber. It's like, yes, my Beat
so it's
Saber
like
master.
You're able to customize it in so many different ways, and I feel like that we can see a lot of that.
Yeah, what if you tell it your food? It's like, Carson, don't eat this. It will decrease your cardiac performance for your Beat Saber session later today. You should eat this instead.
That would actually be interesting,
right? And
it's just like a Megan from that movie.
Oh yeah, the Megan bot thing. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
That's where I think it's going to be interesting once. And if it's all done on device, that's going to be a big selling point. Like, there's no lag with the servers online and stuff. Once, of course, it has the data. But I think the future of this stuff is it's looking bright. And when it can edit videos, I can't wait for the day. I like editing videos, but I really wanted to edit videos, guys. I want AI to help me edit videos, especially shorts.
And just
make the short.
Dude, I struggled editing videos.
Right.
It's a struggle. Because, like, especially if you have, like, a 2-hour video, and then you try to edit that down to, like, 10 minutes, it is, like, you spend almost 8 hours if you're not efficient editor.
I've had shorts
It's
The
a
60-second shorts that take me 30, sometimes an hour and 15 minutes to make. And it's like,
and you really don't have that time
Well,
to
that's where you get
sacrifice
those
something
big
some days.
YouTubers that
And
eventually are an editor. Like, they hire
Yeah.
people to do that because they don't have. They're spending more. Their time's worth more than that. They're like, I'd rather be spending
Yeah.
that time making more videos
That's why
than trying to edit them.
Mhm.
once an AI is capable of helping with editing, it's gonna make the smaller YouTubers be able to
I agree.
compete better
I
with
don't think the higher up people are
higher-ups
going to
that hire.
replace the AI with a person. They're still going to rely on a person to do that because they're able to get more context out of the video versus an AI. Yeah, but like
First,
small
yeah, I
creators, I
agree.
do agree that I think that would be
Yeah.
an advantage to kind of bump them up a little bit to make it a little bit more competitive, and we get better videos all around on what is produced out there.
True. Dang it, we should have talked about TikTok getting banned next week then.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think talking about it right now is kind of premature because we don't know.
Yeah,
There's
it's just
nothing
kind of
coming
a
out
bunch
it
of
yet.
like,
It's going to take a couple of days,
hearsay. We do
weeks.
know some things, but about the trial and them talking about,
Yeah. But thanks for coming
Yeah.
today, guys. We're going to end the podcast and then I'll give you instructions on how to manage the software, Carson. Don't close your tab yet. Everybody else, thank you
Sounds
for
great.
joining, and we'll see you in the next week's episode. We didn't have
You
Cypher,
better.
but
Holy
hopefully
crap,
we'll get
that
him
guy
next
needs to
time.
get on here now.
Sounds great.